welcome back to CEO.CA's Inside the Boardroom. Today we are discussing all things crypto. I am joined by Robert Dejaray, Head of Sales and Trading Canada at Coinsquare and BitBuy. Robert, how are you doing today?
Great, thanks for having me.
So I want to kick things off, maybe a bit of your journey into the sector. Can you tell us how you came into this role and maybe how you first discovered crypto?
Yeah, it's a fun story. I started at a trading desk upstate New York, trading commodities. Soon after, transitioned back to the street here, was hired by Sprott family, ended up working on the precious metals sales and trading arm for Sprott Money. And it was a client of mine at the time. I won't ever forget this. He was insistent on me personally getting involved in 2016.
Yeah.
And back then, prices were much lower. I was quite interested once I had obtained my first Bitcoin. And it was then I became sort of, intrigued by the underlying technology once you actually have a position. So that's when I started studying it. And it was soon after 2017 came, and I was probably the first putting my sort of traditional hat on to exit most of that position. But then that's where I started getting quite interested in actually getting full-time employment, and that's where I first joined Coinsquare in 2019. So it's been a 5-year run. Very happy with the firm and where we are, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, fortuitous timing, and I hope that client who forced you to buy your first Bitcoin is still close to you. I guess it's been a pretty strong year for crypto so far. Bitcoin up around 45% year to date. Walk us through the macro environment right now. What's your perspective on interest rates coming down, further rate cuts anticipated? How does that play into the investment thesis for Bitcoin?
Yeah, when you look at the data, and it's not really a strong cohort to actually analyze. We've really only gone through one rate cutting cycle back in 2019. And with that data, if you kind of do a forward look at 3 months, it's negative. You fast forward a year, it's stronger, positive. Obviously, lines blurred with COVID being sort of a intricacy of it. However, like it was Lynn Alden actually just published a research on sort of tracking M2 supply and liquidity. It tracks about 83% on falling M2 supply. So I think that is strong signaling. We also have had China cut recently. The Fed cutting. I think these things are important. Might be why we're seeing some appreciation as of today and the past week. It's been a strong week, and so something that we're looking at closely is this being front run? Are we having some sort of scare of currency debasement continuing? And so these are sort of things that we're looking at as is this a soft landing as we're expected, or is this sort of a risk into the future where there's a potential hard landing?
Mm-hmm. No, interesting, and I think people will be anticipating those rate cuts that are kind of priced in already at this point for some assets. But I guess I want to talk a bit about the evolution of the crypto market as maybe you've seen it over the last 5 years at Coinsquare. We've seen a lot of market changes, especially in the last year or so, with crypto kind of playing a larger role in more mainstream portfolios. Risk-averse investors who previously wouldn't touch cryptocurrency and now seeing it as a serious asset class. What do you think some of the key catalysts have been in terms of that evolution and maybe what comes next?
Yeah, great question. It's, when I first started in 2019, I had a lot of friends reach out, Bay Street, traditional, what are you doing? And there was a lot of negativity and, sort of this, cast around the sort of space. I've seen this space grow over the last 5 years exponentially. I still think it's a very sort of early aspect of the journey. Just looking at the clientele base we had in 2019 and looking at the client and market participants we've had today, it takes time for any sort of net new asset to mature. We can see that in the flows. We can see that, really the biggest catalyst was the ETF, spot ETF coming into effect. That's changed a variety of things: market structure, adoption rates, and legitimizing this space. In my personal view.
Oh, interesting. And I guess obviously this is an evolving landscape. Where do you see maybe that you've been at Coinsquare 5 years? 5 years down the line, where do you see people's perceptions of cryptocurrency landing?
I think the adoption curve is going to continue. We see that families are stepping in, like some of the biggest families in Canada, for instance, VCs, corporates taking balance sheet positions. The sort of next 5-year view, looking outside sort of this deferred right tail risk that we've seen post-COVID. It's being more accepted as a hedge, but it can hold this dual narrative role where it can act like a tech stock, giving a sort of parabolic return. That being said, I think market structure has completely changed. You can look at a recent published article from BlackRock, just looking at compression of volatility, which I think is important for any sort of asset. Of course, it's going to be volatile when you go to market. That is to be expected. But you look at the volatility over the last 2-3 years, you can see a continued downtrend. Now, does that continue? That's obviously a TBD. And there's certainly things that can spike that volatility, given sort of market conditions.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think seeing that compression is probably a reassuring sign for investors. I guess one piece of this puzzle in terms of the asset class evolving is the technology and ease of access for people to invest in the sector. Companies like WonderFi, running an OTC desk. Walk us through how that allows people to get exposure to crypto and maybe what are some of the benefits of going through an exchange like that?
Yeah, so WonderFi operates 2 large OTC desks, BitBuy and Coinsquare. We have a phenomenal team, certainly most of the market in Canada. We also have a great retail front on both brands. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Whether you're sending a wire or an e-transfer, we help bridge that gap for retail and/or families, institutions, high net worth clients. We make that quite simple. The worlds in sort of traditional and crypto still live in silos. That's where the OTC desk comes in and plays a very key role to help bridge that. And part of our journey was all about regulation. So we are fully CIRO registered, licensed in the NRD. It gives a level of sophistication, level of governance, best execution committees, all of these things that are needed to help build confidence in Canada. And our focus really is to continue that standard. And the market is, obviously receiving that quite well.
Absolutely. So looking ahead through the rest of the year, I understand there are expansion plans in the APAC region, maybe some product development, some new things coming to market. Can you give us a sense of what can users and investors expect over the next few months?
Yep, our APAC division, we got a great team that we're building out and continue to build out. They're gaining a lot of traction. News around our chain and our wallet. Both of those are quite innovative when it comes to the Canadian marketplace and to help obviously monetize and create a better experience for our client base. So it's a stronghold in Canada. We're looking past Canada now. We want to grow as a firm, as a publicly traded entity, to focus on other aspects of the market where we think there's value. I think we have a great business model in Canada that's proven out and been demonstrated, and it's viable. Now we want to take that and push it out to other aspects of the geography.
Okay, fantastic. Well, very exciting. Looking forward to WonderFi Australia and beyond launching. Robert, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.